What's in your cup?
I sip on orange flavored water. 8 months ago, or almost a year ago, cold turkey quit Mountain Dew. Sipping on Mountain Dew all day will kill you. They keep you awake behind the wheel of a truck, but actually I went in for a non-emergency procedure to have a couple things cut off my back, and my blood pressure was high for the first time in my life. And it was contributing to stress from rocking and rolling and hauling hurricane debris and sipping on Mountain Dew all day and working 16 hours a day and not eating right. So I cut all that out and was off the medication in about 2 months, and I'm good to go.
That's
Mountain Dew,
awesome.
crazy. I miss it. I miss it. It's horrible, but it's bad for you.
Why should people vote for you for this Lee County Commissioner seat?
Well, it's pretty obvious. The incumbent has been in politics or running for politics since Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in on Air Force One. We had black and white TVs then. And his policies and his thoughts of being a career politician and Texas Democrat don't fly very well in a conservative Republican base. All you have to do is take a drive down Alico Road and turn left on Oriole and see what San Carlos Park looked like 6 years in his reign. Then take a look at Lehigh. He's been there, our commissioner, for almost 16 years. I proudly served on the Fire Commission District in Lehigh. We were growing. We were advancing. It was a fabulous, planned and plotted bedroom community, forever destroyed and turned into a Section 8 quarters. That's as simply as I can put it. And it is what it is. Very controversial comments that I've made regarding that. And it wasn't my sentiment. It was what the good old boys that are supporting him has said to me. This is our plan for Lehigh, and this is what you're going to do. Now, here's the important part, and that answers your question a little better. What are we going to do in the county? Are we going to go backwards to 2011 and be a sanctuary city and have no jobs? Are we going to make this a county that it has jobs and creates jobs and raises families and single families, and people can build houses and you're welcome here? And that's what I want. I moved to Veranda 2 years ago, and I will be representing the better part of the northeastern portion of Lee County. And that is almost the last frontier that's undeveloped. And if you're going to develop it, you got to do it right. Veranda, River Hall, Babcock is right. Lehigh is wrong. And what is done to Lehigh cannot spread out and be representative of the rest of the county. And that's why I'm running. We don't hate each other, Frank Mann and I. We are old Southern politicians from way back. And we have a lot of good conversations together about yesteryear and hunting and things that matter to both of us. But we disagree in our philosophies. He's a career politician and Democrat, and I'm a career lifelong Republican. I'm conservative. So we're different. We're different in our natures. We're different in our thought pattern. To simply say, I'm a commissioner now, and I just don't want nobody to come to Lee County no more, and I'm going to stop growth and stop jobs, and let's create a sanctuary city out of this. It's not what we want. It's not what I want. Now the beauty of democracy is the people are going to vote in this primary, and it's Republicans only. The Democrats are locked out, courtesy to the Republican Party's doings. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the people are going to speak. And it's going to be absentee votes mostly. This coronavirus thing, this COVID-19, is going to keep a lot of people away from the polls, and rightly so. I voted absentee for the first time since I've been a Republican since '84. And it was easy, and it was fun. And I took pictures of it, and I sent it to people, and I had fun with it. And that's democracy. That's part of it. So the people are going to decide this. The people are going to say, are we going to keep Commissioner Mann in? And we're going to go with his recipe of no growth and no jobs and become a sanctuary city. You see where that's happened all over the country. And the people are going to decide that.
Do you think more needs to be done for the local businesses that are impacted by COVID-19 here in Lee County?
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, if there are federal tax dollars that can help out and we can spread it out wisely to help people, there was just something in the online about there have been people that have been getting awarded millions of dollars and they're buying Lamborghinis and yachts and spending money, and that's not what that's for. That happens, unfortunately. The most thing, a lot of it is education. A lot of it is making sure that people have the 6-foot distances and the mask. You see Publix, I see out businesses and everybody cooperating and everybody doing it. We want to keep them open. We want to keep people working. I'm in the roofing industry, and I have a trucking firm that specializes in hauling for roofing contractors. We're all working, thank God. And we all want to work. Everybody that I know of wants to work. So the restaurants are working and the bars are working and whatnot. But these are hard choices. Do we go back to another shutdown if we have to? If we have to, we do. Our health in the long run is the best part of it. How we make ourselves better, and how we get through this. That's everybody working together. That's everybody wearing a mask. I've got mine. I wear a fishing mask, and I wear this when I go in the hardware store, I go into a restaurant, I go into Haas, anywhere I go, I put it on. Everybody in Publix is wearing it. I'm going to wear it. So if everybody participates, it's a choice. Obviously, you don't have to go somewhere if you don't want to. Everybody that's doing it is doing it. We're all having to do it. It's not a something where people are I don't know the word being forced to do it. You don't have to go. You don't have to do it. But I hope that the county has been a pretty good leader on it. They opened up the beaches. We've got to watch that. We've got to preserve the beaches. We've got to preserve that and make sure that, people stay 6 foot apart. They opened up Florida a little too soon, I think. And they just let everybody go. And they let everybody party and let everybody go to the bars and they let everybody go to the beaches, and nobody stayed apart and nobody wore protection. And look what's happened. It's boomed. It's taken off. The numbers are getting higher. Of course, more people are getting tested as well. But the county plays a big role in it, whether they have their parks open or not, and whether they police and whether they have people wearing masks and protective measures. And if people are cooperating and doing well, then we all do okay.
You kind of already answered my next question, which is if the county is doing enough to slow the spread of COVID-19.
I think Lee County's doing a great job. I think that our commissioners are doing a great job, and the county people, and you get a little nervous with the sheriff's office and whatnot, how they're bonding out people cheaper to get rid of people out of the jail systems and stuff. I'm a little nervous about that, how the sheriff is handling that. I don't agree. But in general, the county's done as the best they can. The county doesn't want to step on toes, and the county doesn't want to repress people and keep people from making money and whatnot. But the county's main job is to preserve domestic tranquility. Peace and tranquility. That's what you pay tax dollars for. That's what you fund your police and your emergency services for. And they've done a great job of responding and doing what they're doing with the money we have. And you have to understand, everybody has to understand this. The governor's going through it. For the first time in many years, the state of Florida has reserves, and they have a huge budget, and they've got plenty of money. Only reason that's happened is because of tax dollars. And if you shut machines down and if you shut people working down, then they're not raising tax dollars. And that'll catch up with us down the road. The county's in a great position as well, too. We don't necessarily have to take federal dollars and disperse it just because they give it to us. We use it I have a very simple philosophy in my governance and how I run my business and how I'm a parent. Do you want it or do you need it? And that's taxpayers' dollars. Do you want it or do you need it? Do we want federal dollars or taxpayers' dollars as well? Everybody's affected by it. Every soul is affected by federal dollars that are dispersed. Just because they give us $25 million doesn't mean we blow $25 million in a hurry. We sit on it.
What are your thoughts on a mask mandate?
In public, I don't have a problem with it, personally. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, every business that's in town and every entity that's in town has an occupational license to be in business and whatnot, to make sure you're not stealing from people, to make sure you do things properly. A mask mandate doesn't bother me. That's one thing that Dr. Fossey and the federal government and all the doctors, everybody is agreeing on, is that it's an airborne pathogen. You know, in the fire service, we wore gloves. You had bloodborne pathogens. You wore shields. When you worked real bad accidents, you had your gear on. You had a mask on. You had eyeglasses on, just like the surgeons, just like the doctors and nurses do. And that airborne pathogen, the simplest way to slow it down or stop it is to wear a mask and social distancing. I mean, they're looking at that and said, that don't cost billions of dollars to do. Anybody can do that. Anybody can put a mask on or make a mask. One of my best friends is a paramedic with Lee County EMS, and in her spare time, she's been making masks. And really cool designs. Not only women are doing this, you know, and just making sure people have it. So that's an important part. You know, hey, and if you don't like it, don't go out. If you don't like it, don't go to this store. Nobody loves Alfie Oaks better than I do. Nobody loves his buildings and his places and his deal. But that's his person. That's his business. If whether he wants to enforce a mask thing or not, that's up to him. He owns the property. You know, don't go.
Where do you stand on giving money to corporations?
We gave millions to millionaires. Paul Woods has fled town. The VR Labs folks stole millions and millions of dollars. That fella cut through the red tape and took care of it himself. Sadly to say that, but he did. That got out of control. That got out of control. And you know, Commissioner Mann is right about this. Look at Hertz. That was the right thing to do. Everybody agrees on that. Nobody knew this pandemic was going to happen, and this can fall in a second, and a bunch of their cars get burned, and a lot of things happen, and all of a sudden they're filing chapter 6 or 7, whatever they call it. You know, so it can happen, but they got a little carried away. This is the same thing, and this is the same thing with the 2020 program. They're taxing themselves. The money is there, so they're giving millions of dollars to millionaires to buy pieces of property that can't be developed anyway. Swampland on 6 Mile Cypress can't even be developed anyway. The Indians don't even raise cows on the property. They didn't then, they don't now. But we're going to give somebody $25 million for 15 acres. That's got out of hand as well.
When you think of Southwest Florida, you think of our beaches, you think of our waterfront properties. Is water quality still an issue that's top of mind for you?
It's number one priority because I tell you, I grew up on the river. I grew up on a cattle ranch in LaBelle. And all my life I've been on the river, and I know the river from Moorhaven all the way to Captiva like the back of my hand. There's a lot of creeks, there's a lot of canals, there's a lot of sewage dumping from Lee County into the river, running all the way out. As a county commissioner in the northeastern side, I will police our river and our areas. I'll do my part. Kevin Ruane and the Sanibel group, whether it be Dry Corn or Kevin Ruane, they win. They got the receiving end. Pine Island and Sanibel gets it. You know, it runs downhill, as you know. And so I've got to do my part on the northeastern part. And I grew up in LaBelle. I played football with Mitchell Wells, who's the Henry County commissioner on that side. So you work together and you take it. That'd be the funnest field trip. It would be to take a boat up these creeks, Banana Branch, Jack's Branch, Billy Creek, Bedman Creek, and take water samples and run it over to our biologists at the county and say, what's in this? And then say, where'd you get that? Well, it's the rainy season, and I got it at this canal. And they say, well, it's full of phosphorus, or it's full of this, or it's full of pesticide. Where'd you get this? And you identify that. That would be a piece of cake. Sadly, the river runs right behind Commissioner Mann's palatial estate, and he's done absolutely nothing for water quality and helping it, except for the answer of let's just not let people come here. Let's just stop growth, and that'll fix it. And that's not going to work.
You kind of mentioned it in the beginning, but there's been some controversy, of course, over a racially charged word that was in an email of yours.
Yes,
I didn't know
ma'am.
if you wanted to address that at all.
It was an antagonist from Lehigh that's in Frank Mann's little group who drew first blood on an email, and I answered it incorrectly. The statements were true, except for I was quoting what people were saying to me. When you run for office in Lee County, there are movers and shakers in the different areas and arenas in the county that help support and push support and help you get elected. And when you go and talk to them about their vision and their interest and what they think of you as a commission and whether you're going to back me or not, and for them to say, this is what we want you to do to Lehigh, and this is what we want you to do to this area, and this is what we expect you to do, that's what I was repeating. Sadly, when the news press called me and asked me about it, they gave me a great interview, and they rode with me, and they know where I stand, and they did it. They did their job. Sadly, Waterman Broadcasting didn't get their story because I simply wouldn't give up their names. I wouldn't say. When you run for office, there is a trust between candidate and contributor. And there's a code, and I don't care who it is or who she is. You don't break it. You talk about the issues, you talk, but you don't give names up. You never do, you never will. I don't. And so because I wouldn't give it to them, they cut my story in half. I did not say we have to put the ends somewhere. I said they told me, Sonny, we have to put the end people there. And Waterman cut the interview in part because they wanted to make a story. But sometimes when you shake a tree, things fall out of it. And you know, when you're sitting at a gas pump getting fuel and you have a rather large black man yell across the parking lot, hey dude, Black Lives Matter and we vote, and you walk over and talk to him about it, every single person that did that with me reached out and shook my hand and said, you're getting my vote. Because they know I'm for opportunity, for majorities. I'm for blacks and for Latins. I'm for jobs. I'm for home ownership, especially for African Americans, especially single moms. The largest employers of minorities in Lee County are black and white. Majorities are Latin. The largest employers for minorities is Lee Memorial, is Lee Health, and the Lee County School Board. These men and women, they deserve home ownership. And if they want to have a place in Lehigh, I want them to build there. I want them to have a home ownership. I don't want them to be handed a voucher and told, go live in Lehigh. You go over there and find a place to rent. Here you go. Here's your voucher. Frank Mann supports that. I do not. I support home ownership. I don't support segregation. Frank Mann and the segregators that have supported him and wrote him $1,000 checks do. So it is what it is. This primary vote of him and me is going to be one of the most important we've ever had. This will be the fourth time I've run against Commissioner Mann. The fourth and final time I'm going to do this for the people that have asked me to run. Okay? The residents of North Olga and the Shores know that this is our last chance to develop this area right and be represented right. And they know that Franklin B. Mann, the Texas Democrat, since Lyndon B. Johnson's been in office, has done it wrong. But the people are going to decide this. That's the beauty of it. The people are going to decide my fate. They're going to place me in that chair to go to work, or they're going to free me, one of the two, because this is my last time. We won't be having this conversation 4 years from now that I'm trying to run to win, unless I'm an incumbent and I'm running again.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Like I said, this is the most important primary we've had in a very long time. The voters are going to decide which direction this county is going to go. Are we going to go back to 2011? Are we going to build a sanctuary city and stop and cut out jobs and slow this county down? Are we going to go with our ears pinned back and put everybody to work and rock and roll? It's very important that they support Sonny Haas and they support Ray Sandelli, because if they put Frank Mann and Nick Betos in, we're going to have an environmental board. We're going to go backwards like we did back then, and everybody's going to lose. That's it.